Alright, so this is going to be another Blender tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to go over a simple procedural dirt texture in cycles. So I'm going to add a plane, scale it by 5 units, apply rotation and scale, and add a subdivision and subdivide it by say 6, and add a subdivision surface modifier by pressing Ctrl 2 on the keyboard, and add a displace modifier. Add a new texture, go to textures panel and select clouds. Now you would see that it's all crooked, so add a smooth it, give it smooth shading, and add another subdivision surface modifier. So now we get smooth surface. We can increase this resolution so we get an even smooth surface. So now this will be our land, our terrain, and we'll add a texture to it. Now let's go to node editor, add a new material, I'll call it dirt, and we can make a simple material, and gradually after that I'll progress to a more advanced one. So I'll go into the cycles engine, use nodes, and now first of all we need to have some lighting. So I'll move the camera and the light into this layer, and I'll change this to a sun lamp. Now in world settings I'll click use nodes, and I'll add a sky texture. And if I go into rendered, now you can see that we have some sky. Now we can select our sun and rotate it along the x-axis to get different shadows. So I think I'll go with this, and I'll click use nodes and increase the strength to 2 and color to yellow. Now we can go to the material, select our plane, and add a displace. Okay, so I'll add a color ramp and a Voronoi texture, and I'll just plug it into the displace. Okay, texture coordinate, and let's go with bumps. So we'll add a vector bump, and so we have this. Change the color and change the scale to 20. Now I can add a mix RGB, and I can add a noise texture, add it to the FAQ, and I can add another noise texture and put it in the FAQ. So you can see that we get some good bumps. Now I can change the color of this, and increase the scale of the Voronoi also to 50, and this looks good. So we can make it dark or light according to what we want. And yes, we can use this mode as well. I just go into the modifiers and decrease the strength a bit. Okay, and we can experiment with a diffuse, a glossy shader. Try a velvet, and .01. So this is okay, and another mix. I'll add a glossy, and okay. Just a little bit. Okay. And just a little bit of glossiness, and now what we can do is we can add this, select all of this, Control G to make a group, and open this and call this group dirt, and dirt, so that we get less complications, and we can add some things over here to modify our settings. So first of all, we can add the strength, and we can add the scale of the noise texture, and we can add the scale of the noise as well as the Voronoi texture. Just remove these, and this scale of the Voronoi and scale of the noise, and detail I'll set to 15. Okay. And we can add the blend, and we can add the FAC of the mix shader, so I'll move this up. So yes, we get this where we can change the values. I'll save this to dirt. Now we can add another material. We can add a mix shader first of all, and we can add a simple diffuse, and noise, add it in the FAC, and I'll change it to a green color. Add a color ramp, and right now it's just white, creamish, but we can add effects to this as well. So change it to 2, and now what we can do is I'll delete this. And we can again add bump, and we can add a noise texture. Back of this goes to the height, and we can invert it. I set this to 200, and I decrease the strength to a 0.3. So I can change this strength also to a 0.6, and let me just open this. I'll change this color to a little less dark. Okay, now what we can do is add this in the generated, and want even lighter texture. Okay, a little dark. Now I'm going to select this and make it B-spline, and detail I'm going to make it 12, and scale 5. And distortion of 2, 1. So that we get this. Now you can always reduce this shininess, or you can remove it by changing this blend, and this FAC is for the velvet texture which we had put. So yeah, a little bit. Okay, now if I look from here, even 5 frames, it's looking quite good. And now in the world settings, now first of all I'll select these 3 nodes and B and Control G and name it as light. Again, can add the scale, detail 12, and strength, and we can also set the color. So yes, in this as well I'm going to change the color. I'm going to set the color so that it will be easy to change. And this is basically our dirt texture. Now one more thing which you can do, which might have an effect, is go into world settings and add a converter math node, duplicate it, set this to multiply and put it in strength. And now if you increase this value or this, you can have different effects. Now you can also add an environment texture. So I'll open one which I created and open it. One thing to note is that these environment textures are images of very big sizes, so just have to keep that in mind. It might get a bit slow. So with this, I have this environment texture, and you notice that the texture changed just because I have this environment texture now. So now if I go into the node and if I change the colors, now you can play around with the colors to get the effect that you want. Now I'll again go into the world and you can always have a mixture of these as well. And add them. So if we look at the world, we get both the sky which we have and the environment texture. So this is just the environment texture and this is just the sky. So it has a drastic change. I can just set it to 0.5. You can change the contrast and brightness. This is the brightness. Now I think I need to increase the bump size, so I'll set this to 1 and so yes, as you can see, you get different kinds of effects. Some will be realistic and some not that, so you can try all the different effects and look for the one which you want. Now I think I'm going to remove this environment texture. This was not made perfectly as well, so I'll just add the sky texture to it and I'll go into material and change it back to something like this. Now I can make it lighter and this one a little creamish. Yeah, this looks good to me, so I'm going to give this a quick render, and I'm going to select camera. As you can see that this is our dirt texture. Now you can even add cracks to this, which I'll explain in some other video. Okay, the color is a bit weird, I guess, so I'll just go to the node properties, node editor, and make it a little lighter, and go into rendered mode. Now it's looking good. Alright, so I think I'll stop this tutorial now, and you can experiment and create your own good looking dirt textures. And I'll just give this a quick render again. Okay, one more thing which you can do is you can add a bump map to it. In this very bump map you can add small bumps, and that will also make it look more realistic. So you can add small bumps. You can use the displacement map, or the bump map. You can add it by using vector addition. So I'll just quickly demonstrate it. For instance, if okay, so for instance, if I want to add even smaller bumps, so I'll change the strength of it. Now I'll open this node group and select another, duplicate this, and add a vector transform, add a converter vector math node, and I'm going to add two vectors, and in the second I'm going to duplicate this noise and set the scale to 2000 and put it in the height. Now strength, I'm going to keep it 1. Okay, and I'll just normalize. So if I select normalize, now without this it's so I don't think this has much of an effect, but not average. No. Alright, so I'll just select add. Okay, and I'll set the strength to a 0.3. So now if we look at our dirt, it is even more realistic. Now I can go ahead and give this a quick render. I'll just go into UV image editor and select slot 2 and render this. Now this is just, I believe, frames, so this will not be that visible, but still you can, if I compare them, you can see that there's a lot of difference. I decreased these bumps and I added the other texture which with the smaller bumps to simulate the grains of sand, of mud. Alright, so this was about it for this tutorial, and I'll continue this. I'll make another texture in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.